Hi, and welcome to Super Anti-Aging Podcast with your super healthy boomer, Steve Halpern. This is going to be a really exciting podcast, so you're lucky you tuned in. If you're a subscriber, you'll get notified. Anyway, we're going to talk about a compound, a nutrient that is absolutely astounding. I mean, I've been doing nutrition work for almost 40 years. And, I was one of the original people who talked about glutathione, that incredible antioxidant that's so popular today. I was even starting a book many, many years ago and did a lot of research on it. And people in health influences and people into nutrition know about glutathione. But how about if I told you there's something even stronger in scientific experiments with glutathione as an antioxidant? Now, studies have shown that when they measured centurions and super agers, the higher the glutathione, there was a correlation to less health-related diseases. So imagine something even stronger. Well, it was a fascinating story because Dr. Bruce Ames, incredible scientist who developed what's called the Ames test, and the Ames test measured DNA damage. And many years ago, and he'll know, he wasn't that excited about nutrients and supplementation and vitamins. But now he's come on board with an amazing compound called ergothioneine. Yes, it's a tongue twister. Ergothioneine. And it's going to be found in mushrooms. The problem with ergothioneine, it was very, very difficult to extract and very expensive. And processes were developed to make it very low cost and available now. Now, what can it do? And a quick search or deep search, cross-referencing ergothioneine and various health conditions, eyesight, cataract, macular degeneration, joint health, cardiac, blood vessels, skin, goes on and on and on, like an amazing list of benefits. And Dr. Ames believed it's the missing vitamin. Missing vitamin. We know what happens when you're missing a vitamin. What can happen? You can develop scurvy. You can develop rickets. You can develop also beriberi diseases. And at the time when they discovered these, they synthesized these substances. It was amazing. Nobel Prizes for it. And then, of course, antibiotics came in and a lot of this research went goodbye. And now some has come back based on, the interest in supplementation. Well, let's talk about ergothioneine. You'd probably have to eat a lot of mushrooms, and it's available as a supplement. And the nice thing about it is no side effects. The suggested dose should be about 25 milligrams. And, maybe if you're working with a health practitioner, you might even take more. And what have I noticed with myself and my clients with this higher dose? Well, the most immediate effect was brain focus, really clear brain organization, energy, and a really surprising one. Now, I wear glasses and I have astigmatism and I have this, what I call this boomer driving thing, which is a night vision. And they talk about astaxanthin being helpful and, there's products that help the, carotenoids in the eye, can help marigold and various, even bilberry, which was used during World War II by the British pilots. But cross studies showed that ergothioneine can pass through the blood-brain barrier and into the eyes, and suggesting some of the studies have suggested improvement in eyesight, fascinating cataract, maybe even macular degeneration, possibly glaucoma, with a simple food substance. That's what's so amazing. It's a food substance that's probably missing in 90% of our diets, unless, like I say, unless you're a big consumer of mushrooms. So put that on your list. And if you're interested, and I would definitely suggest trying it, and you go to Facebook, my Super Anti-Aging, you'll contact me through here. I'll tell you where to get a very reputable inexpensive brand of ergothioneine. Possibly also, now this is kind of key, it also seemed to affect muscle mitochondria. And this is a big issue, sarcopenia, muscle loss as people get older, which doesn't have to be. And my clients, even in the 80s, are putting on muscle, solid muscle. In fact, I had the privilege of meeting Jack LaLanne, and boomers know Jack LaLanne. In his 90s, he had lots of muscles. He didn't have sarcopenia. He wasn't bent over. And Jack LaLanne's famous juicer, putting all that good stuff in. Anyway, what can we do? Well, there's a podcast I like, a video also. Dr. Lee, who has a book out on how to prevent cancer. And I double checked what he said, which is there's an amino acid called leucine. And if you forget, it's like Lucy from, I'm not going to tell you who, you got to wait a little bit in the podcast, and I'll tell you whose birthday it was yesterday. But you have to wait. But anyway, let's go back to leucine. Leucine, one of the best food sources of leucine happens to be in cottage cheese. Yes. Oh, by the way, I won't keep you. I hate when these videos and podcasts keep it to the end. It was Snoopy, right? Snoopy's birthday was yesterday. And I wonder if Lucy knows about leucine. Cottage cheese suggested, Dr. Lee suggested, and I've checked it out. I've done my homework, that leucine seems to upregulate muscle mitochondria and repair. Probably helps with mTOR, which is good. The boomers are into regenerative medicine, into biohacking. Like myself, I'm taking rapamycin, which suppresses mTOR, okay, but not continuously. And we cycle it, take it once a week, suggestion by the scientists, or maybe once a week. And with medical intervention, anywhere from 2 to 6 milligrams. But the leucine can definitely help with muscle, and that's what the studies. The other one that's really getting a lot of attention now is alpha-ketogluteric acid and creatine. Creatine for brain. And a lot of bodybuilders over the years were using creatine. It's a hot item now, creatine powder. And if you don't have any medical conditions that you need to get cleared by your practitioner, I think creatine is also a great idea. One of the things I do in the morning, and this is also Dr. Lee's work, with fiber. Make a smoothie with inulin. Now, a lot of drinks now have inulin, but not enough. I put some inulin in, put some glycine in, a little taurine, flaxseed, chia seed, berries, creatine. Is a good start. I even put some a little bit of cacao, organic cocoa in, because there's some work that this might stimulate stem cells, which is a good thing. So that's a good start. Smoothie time. So let me sum up again. Ergothioneine. Definitely look into it. Very, very, very powerful stuff. And there's some other ones I want to talk about that let me talk about the scientific pharmaceutical development. The FDA just approved a second version of eye drops. Look at this. Eye drops for nearsightedness. Yeah, good for 12 hours, no side effects. They tested it out, and it can affect and prevent losing your reading glasses. We know what happens if you're switching back and forth between your regular glasses and your reading glasses, your regular glasses, your reading glasses. Then you forget where your glasses are in the first place because you can't find the regular glasses with the reading glasses. Anyway, I'm going to try it. I'll let you know. I'm going to try and get the drops. What else in the field that's really, really, really exciting? The exciting stuff is that we now know that, and I've said this over and over again, there's a direct brain connection between the microbiome and the brain. Well, the microbiome and other organs. And and as a side note, we used to think, well, take out the appendix. You don't really need the appendix. Just like the spleen, take out the spleen. Well, if it's medically indicated, like it's really badly infected, I understand. But routine stuff that might be treated without surgery. And we now think that the appendix might be a place where a lot of microbiome house, and it might be a really, really important organ for that. The body doesn't have organs that it doesn't need. Well, maybe a tail that we supposedly have that we really don't use. Well, unless you work on it. Anyway, so let's get back to the main theme here. And I want my audience to start to support me in possible. If you have people or you're in this field of social media or video podcasting, let me know. I'd like to work with you, but especially people understand the mission, the whole mission of let's reinvent. Now, if you're a millennial or X, well, probably by the time you reach boomer age, there'll be scientific developments that will be astounding, that we can't even imagine in aging. But you got to reach that age. That's the problem with seeing, unfortunately, a lot of age conditions in younger and younger people, like colon cancer, because of the lack of fiber and probiotics. And that's why I make sure I include a lot of fiber in my diet. And, of course, the processed foods, which we already know, are giving them these kind of conditions. And then we're even seeing, unfortunately, and I'm going to touch on this topic in a second as I go further into it, reimagining the whole concept of senior citizen. I joke around, at 70, I forget, I think 78, last time I looked, at least chronologically. I know I'm a citizen. So why do I have to be concerned about being a citizen when I already know I'm a citizen? All right. So let's get rid of elders is fine. Older, better is fine. But so many stereotypes around being a senior citizen. Well, you get some benefits. Half price in the movie theater. And if you live in places like New York, half price on certain subway, on New York City subway and transportation and some restaurants. Okay, that's fine. But healthy boomers have a lot to offer. So let's keep moving in this direction of healthy boomers. And the information is already out there. There's so much information, but getting motivated to do it, taking those actions, because it's easy to slip into habit. And habits might have worked at a different age. Okay. But now to be a healthy boomer, you really need to work at it. And that's what I support people in doing. Work on changing those habits. You don't have to go to a gym. You can make exercise part of your daily activities, carrying the groceries, work. Make exercise your daily work. One of the anecdotes I love is that you take someone who's a construction worker or field worker, or in olden days before we had labor-saving devices, and you say, you're going to pay us to go to this place and lift weight. And the person goes, wait a second, I do that all day long. Why am I going to a gym to do that? Well, of course, the gyms have the social interaction, which is so important for aging and mental functioning. But make it part of your daily activity. Get up and stretch. Don't find yourself sitting if you don't have to. And so, to sum up, check out Ergothioneine. I think it's really important. Check out the leucine. I think that's important. The fiber, add the fiber in your smoothie. The creatine, I think they're all good. And I'll continue to do my homework for my listeners. So if you learned and enjoyed this podcast and you want to share this podcast, please subscribe and share it in your different social media outlets. I'd appreciate getting this word out. I don't want to be selfish. I had my first gym at 14 years old, and it was so exciting to see changes. And it's not just an ego thing. I'm not particularly aging, and people who know me are actually in shock. My hair color's coming back. I don't have a hearing aid. I don't have cataracts. I don't have joint. I don't have hip replacement. I don't have any of that. I don't even have voice changes. So you can have that too. It's just taking the information and applying it. So I want to again thank you so much for listening.